Have you ever wondered why record labels make artists pay their own producer royalties? Or what is the relationship between the artist and the producer in the record contract, right? And why does the artist get so little? We'll find out next, coming up on the Music Money Makeover Show. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Music Money Makeover Show. My name is Casey Graham, and this is yet another episode in the Record Labels Explain series. In this episode, we're digging into the relationship between the artist and the producer, and we're going to kind of bring to a head why the artist gets so little and why they have to be responsible for paying everybody else, okay? So let's dig in. Now, if we're going to start this, we're going to have to start through the record contract. And let's just I'm going to take a generous artist royalty. We're going to keep our math simple here. Okay, so let's say the artist signs a record deal for a 20% artist royalty, which is pretty rich. And if you go into a standard big label, so to speak, right? But then we have to look at what the record label considers themselves. And the record label considers themselves a bank. They're giving you a gigantic loan with a bunch of stipulations and ways to pay it back, okay? But the record label feels that if they sign an artist, then the artist shall be responsible for paying them back that loan. Now, the amount of money that the record label will pay the artist on the proceeds that the artist has earned from the masters that the record company purchased from the producers will be that royalty rate, 20%, okay? So they expect the artist to pay back everything out of that royalty, that 20%, all right? But not until, okay, and to be clear, the artist will not get that royalty until they pay all of the money back. Now, in that royalty, they will have to pay the money back with the royalty at that 20% rate. So if you borrowed $1, okay, at 20%, you would have to make $5 in order to recoup. So $1 million would equal $5 million in revenue that you would have to recoup back. Now, inside of all of that, the artist must pay for the producer royalty. So let's dig into it. So now that we know that our artist royalty is 20%, what is our producer royalty for, let's just do one single. Let's say you do a single deal. The single deal is 80-20, 20% to the artist, 80% to the label. And the producer royalty for the song is, for simple math, we'll keep it at 5%. Okay? You only did a single deal, 20% artist royalty, and the producer royalty for that one song is 5%. Well, that 5% comes out of the artist royalty, so the artist has to pay for that. All right, so after, this is normally what happens in the deal, unless a producer says so or not. Let's say you advance the producer $5,000, okay? Well, the producer has the right to say that once my $5,000 is recouped, the artist must then start paying me, which is totally fair, all right? And they may do something called a record one where they'll take it back to the first record sold and pay retroactively from the first record sold up to the point where you get $5,000 back. And then after that point, the artist must start paying. So now you see a reduction in that artist royalty from 20% down to 15%, all right? So now that the producer has recouped all recording costs when it comes to producing that master, then the artist must continue to recoup for promotion, marketing, you name it, all this other stuff. All right. So now the artist royalty has been reduced to 15%. That they must still continue to use that 15% to pay back the $1 million in debt that they owe. All right. So that is right there, the artist and the producer relationship. All right. So to recap this, the artist has a royalty rate of 20% allotted to them by the record label. The record label pays $1 million in cost to market, produce, and promote the master and promote the single itself. The artist must use its 20% royalty to pay back the $1 million. And then once the producer's master production fee, or the producer's fee and all the stuff that it took to produce the actual record, gets recouped, the producer can still now start getting paid out at a rate of 5%, and the artist royalty will now be reduced to a rate of 15%, and then they will have to continue paying that $1 million or that outstanding amount that's left at 15% until it's all paid out. Now, this is why artists get paid so little, because the amount that they borrowed it costs so much to pay back at 15%. Think if every dollar that you brought in, you only could take 15% of that and pay on your debt, right? Instead of 100% of that. That makes it very hard. Meanwhile, the record label will recoup very shortly. They may recoup within, I don't know, say 8 months, 9 months. They may recoup all the costs that it took, but you as an artist must recoup all the money out of your royalty rate. So now that we have the artist royalty explained, and we have now explained the relationship from the artist to the producer, let's ask the question, all right? What is that artist royalty? All right, so the artist royalty is basically proceeds that you get from the sale of material that you went in the studio and recorded, whether you wrote it or if you didn't, right? As a recording artist, you get a royalty from the what we call PPD, or purchase price to distributor. Basically, it just means the wholesale price or the sales price when it comes to the streaming age, all right? Same thing goes for the producer royalty. What is a producer royalty? All right, so check this out. The producer royalty is the royalty that the producer requests in the producer artist or producer record company agreement, all right, for producing that master. On average, it'll be anywhere from 4 to 5, and on the rich side, 6% of the PPD, or purchase price to distributor, okay? And then the producer, after the producer recoups the cost, or the record company recoups the cost that it took the producer to pay for, or took the producer to produce the master, then the producer will start getting its 5% royalty from the purchase price to distributor, or the wholesale price, or basically the sale price of the stream. All right, and that goes for ringtones too and all that. So the producer will get a 5% royalty from all revenue derived from the master after the producer or the record company has recouped the master production prices and producer fees from the producer. Now, in order to kind of figure all this out or kind of understand where some of these streams of income come from, I encourage you to download the profit maximization checklist below, and the musician's self-publishing guide, the musician's guide to self-publishing #1. I want to get that right. I've been saying that. I've been mixing those up for the last couple of weeks. But but those books will allow you to understand this landscape between the producer and the artist and the record label, and where the money flows, and the accounts that you need to be registered under, how to register those accounts and how to register for them, what numbers that certain accounts need at what given time, and when can you register those things at such given times to maximize all profit and make sure that you can collect everything that you possibly can from an independent standpoint. You can download all of that stuff below. Or you can text me, 470-291-5767, 470-291-5767. Now, to continue our discussion on why the artist gets paid so little and why the artist must pay, or the record label makes the artist pay for the producer royalties, let's dig into something that is listed in those books that I just explained to you all that you probably should want to download below. So we have to talk about the reduced mechanical royalty, all right? So a mechanical royalty is a royalty required by law that the United States government and most governments around the world require record labels to pay to song writers, writers of the song. That means the people who write the lyrics and the melody, and the people who also compose the music. And they do that together, and they are owed a royalty by law on that, okay? So then now what happens is, a lot of times in record labels, artists tend to actually write on those songs, or write portions of them, or maybe request pieces of publishing. And for that, the record label will reduce that mechanical royalty by a rate of 25%, reducing it from 100% to 75%. Now, you may see this a lot, producers, in your producer agreement, but that means that the artist is a 3/4 artist, all right? And because they reduced this, the reason rather for them reducing this mechanical royalty, and it's just the royalty required by law that the record label must pay the composers and authors of the actual song. The reason why this thing gets reduced is because the artist has involvement with actually writing the record. Now, you, the producer, may be a full paid or full percentage producer with the publisher. All right. Your publishing deal will state how much you get paid off of that mechanical royalty. OK. And if you are a full rate producer, then you get the full amount of your mechanical royalty and it shall not be reduced. So therefore, if the artist has a reduced deal, the artist is then now responsible for paying the rest of the rate, the mechanical rate that you, the producer, must receive, further reducing the artist's royalty, taking more money out of the artist's pocket, making it harder and taking a lot longer for the actual artist to recoup any money. All right. So artists, I want you to beware when you get in these record deals. I want you to understand the relationship you have to pay for everybody else. Now, I'm going to sneak one more royalty in here, and this is called an executive producer royalty or a record producer royalty or just an A&R royalty. All right. This runs the rate of 1 to 2% on the album or the song. All right. And this gets paid for, you guessed it, out of the artist royalty yet again. So let's say if the producer takes 5% and then the record producer or executive producer takes another 2%, we're now reducing the artist royalty from our original 20% on down to, wait for this, because I need you to hold your breath for this. We're going down from 20% all the way down to 13%. All right. So now if you can grasp this, artist, you can now see why you all get paid so much more or so much more less than everybody else, because the record label envisions the contract between you and them, or they want to make it so that you are responsible for paying things back out of your royalty. Now, this is all up for negotiation. You can always negotiate how this is done. It may not be so likable to the record company, but you only get what you negotiate. All right. If they say no, then so be it. Go somewhere else until you feel comfortable. Just make sure you don't go chasing that bag so much that you lose all of your ownership and all of the works that you have. Record labels can be great and publishers can be great, but it's all based on your negotiation and your outlook on the profit that you want to make and that you tend or you project to make. All right. Anyway, you all download the profit maximization checklist below and the musician's self-publishing guide number 1, or the musician's guide to self-publishing number 1 below. You can also text me 470-291-5767 and I'll send you that profit maximization checklist for free that way, so that you can just get it right away. And also shout out to everybody who has been texting me. We've made a lot of pathway to successful production for everyone who has been texting me on my phone and who's been reaching out. A lot of this stuff that I do online is cool, but when we get on the phone, we get to the nitty gritty, we get stuff handled. And shout out to everybody who has been hitting me up 470-291-5767 on the phone, because I am so proud of you all for pushing forward in your music career. You all have helped me and I have helped you. You've helped me grow, and I'm glad to help you all grow. Anyway, I will see you all next week. Peace.